Hi, and welcome to TriforLife's The Real Lifestyle Answer. I'm Dr. Dean, your host. Before we get started, let me give you a little bit of background about me and how this program got started. I've been a practicing sports chiropractor since 1985, and as I got older and my patients got older, they were getting fatter, they were getting on blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds, they had type 2 diabetes, and they would always try things off television, and they'd lose 20, gain 40, lose 10, gain 30. They weren't getting their health back, and they'd get discouraged and things were getting worse. In about 2001, I decided that they needed two things. They needed more of a commitment from me than just saying, gosh, you got to lose the weight. And they needed to actually learn how to take care of themselves. So what I did was I put together a program through education, support, and accountability to do just that. And over the past 12 years, we've helped over 2,000 people regain their health, lose weight, and keep it off for good. Well, let's get started. Thanks for coming. We're going to start today with a episode from Weight Loss TV called "What Happened to America," and I want you to see what's happened over the last 30 years. So let's get started with that.
Rumors spreading round in that Texas town about the shack outside the games. And you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Weight Loss TV. I'm Dr. Dean. Today we're going to go back and talk a little bit about statistics like we've done in I think probably the first episode. But I found some pretty graphic charts from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, that I think will make it a little bit more, I won't say in your face, but it'll make it a little bit more apparent what's been happening as far as the weight gain in this country over the last 25 years. Now, to review, when I first started practicing, my offices were all based in health clubs. I used to run 25 health club-based clinics. And back in the late 80s when I got started, the average, I'd see all the new members, and the average new member would say they had to lose maybe 5, 10, 15, at the outside 20 pounds. But the last 10 or 15 years, it's been 150 pounds. In other words, it's just out of control. So what I'm going to show you now in graphic representation of how much we've gained weight as a country. So let's take a look. Let's go back to 1985. The Cosby Show, Dynasty, and Magnum PI ruled the airwaves. Michael Jackson was entertaining millions with a Thriller. And the CDC didn't even much worry about obesity rates. Most of the country didn't bother keeping track, and the areas that did, the percentages were in the 10 to 15% range. And like I said, when I first started practicing, the average person had to lose just 10 to 15 pounds. Do you see all the nice light blue colors? Well, that's less than 10% of the population being overweight. And the darker blue is just 10 to 14%, which is still all good. Moving ahead just 4 years to 1989, where acid wash jeans and denim jackets were all the rage, Madonna had taken the music world by storm, and big hair was the order of the day. Well, after the big hair, big Americans are starting to really creep in. Texas and the Pacific Northwest make their first appearance, and most of the Midwest has started to pack on the pounds, with the population rising from less than 10% to between 11 and 14. However, the desert Southwest, California, and Florida were still full of beach babes and surfer dudes. Jumping just 6 years to 1995, where Coolio and Mariah Carey rocked the charts and everyone was watching a little show about nothing called Seinfeld, nothing was definitely not happening to American waistlines. Alaska jumps onto the scene for the first time. Almost the entire country from Texas east is hovering around 19%. Even Florida is starting to bust its bikini. With the dawn of the new millennium in 2000, we were rocking to Who Let the Dogs Out, and Britney Spears had yet to have a meltdown, but her hit, Oops, I Did It Again, was topping the charts. Well, oops, we did it again, as the Midwest and the South continue to grow, hitting the mid 20% range. And it's definitely time to start shopping for one-piece bathing suits, for almost 20% of the population in California, Florida, and Hawaii are now obese. In 2005, Battlestar Galactica was #1. Mariah Carey's clothes kept getting smaller. Kelly Clarkson busted onto the scene from American Idol, and House was figuring out everyone's medical problems. Well, maybe Dr. House needs to take a look at America's scales, because the South has now grown to 25 to over 30% obesity rates. The rest of the country is not to be outdone and is chomping on the heels, or maybe just chomping on too many cheeseburgers. This brings us to 2009, which is the last data year from the CDC. Well, only Colorado has less than 20% obesity rates now. The rest of the country has managed to eat, internet surf, and reality TV itself to the point that 200 million are overweight, with 100 million being morbidly obese. We currently lose 300,000 people every year due to obesity-related conditions, and some have even sought forced portion control as an answer. That's called gastric bypass operations. The real answer is education, support, and accountability if we're ever going to be able to see our collective feet again. I know what you want to say. You want to say, wow. I mean, as those colors changed and got bigger and bigger and heavier, it shocked me the first time I saw it. And hopefully it's going to make a little bit more of an impression on you and help you to make the decision to not be part of that statistic. For now, this is Dr. Dean with Weight Loss TV and Try for Life. We'll see you next time. Well, hopefully that got you to put the cheeseburger down and wipe that telltale ring of Cheetos off your mouth. Well, let's review. Over the past 30 years, adult obesity rates have tripled. In that same time period, childhood obesity rates have doubled. This leaves us with two-thirds of us, a full two-thirds of us, being either overweight or obese. We are spending somewhere between 50 and $100 billion every year on all these magic solutions, and we're all still fat. Why do you think that is? Well, 200 million of us. 200 million, that's the number of obese and overweight. And unless we change our thought process, that condition is just not going to change. Let's talk a little bit about the short-term annoyance. You don't like buying clothes, you really hate the mirror, and you especially hate photographs. How about fatigue? All this leads to a really poor self-esteem. So what else bothers you? This is Lisa. She was a patient of mine for about a year and a half. Here she is at 260 pounds. We're going to look at her a little later at 137 pounds. And she made such incredible strides. But what else bothers you? What is your motivating factor? You've got to make it personal. You've got to have something that drives you. Let's talk about the real problems, the long-term effects of obesity. The three biggies everybody knows: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes. These are things that comprise, in most companies, 60+% of the health expenditures of the companies that I work with are for what they call, every human resources has to be politically correct, lifestyle management medication. That is a cop-out. These things can be handled. There are some genetic factors that people have problems with, but for the most part, many of these things can be eliminated. And if you're fortunate enough not to have any of these three right now, I'm telling you, if you keep the way you're going, if you're overweight, if you're obese, these will catch up with you and you will have them. It's plain and simple. Let's get to some of the more serious stuff. This is the stuff that scares most people. Our good old friends, cancers, heart disease, and stroke. Off the top of my head, I can think of several cancers like esophageal, pancreatic, colon, and breast that have studies directly relating uh, these conditions to obesity. Heart attacks and strokes are no fun either. And this all leads to death. And do you have any idea how many people we lose every year? Well, it's 300,000. 300,000, a third of a million people die every year because of conditions like I just talked about that are preventable. If there's action steps that you can take today and every day for the rest of your life to prevent the suffering of you, the suffering of your family, why wouldn't you take them? I'm not trying to be Dr. Downer, please, but at some point, it's really critical that you get either a slap in the face or a slap in the head and start to really understand what I'm talking about. Here's our old friend Lisa from before. This is her at 137 pounds. It took a year and a half. It wasn't an overnight thing, but it happened, and she was successful. She got off her blood pressure meds, she got off her cholesterol meds, and she reversed type 2 diabetes. And this is typical. This isn't, you ever see the notices at the bottom of a lot of these things? Results not typical. These results are typical if you do it the right way. The call that I got from her a couple of years down the road was not to tell me that she got all the weight back on. She called to tell me that she'd lost another 15 pounds on her own, so she was now 5'2", 115, 118 pounds, perfect, and leading a happy life. That's the call that I get. And there's no reason that can't be you with the right education, support, and accountability. Let me show you another patient of ours. This is Jeff. Jeff was one of our doctors that used to work for me. And he was 260, 270 pounds here. And he thought he was just going to be like his dad, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. Well, it just doesn't have to be that way. We worked with him. He honestly didn't think he was going to be able to reverse the conditions he had. But with, again, the right education, support, and accountability, he turned into this. Here he is now at 215 pounds, off his blood pressure meds, off his cholesterol meds, and he actually took up the sport of triathlon, and he's now several years down the road winning his age group in triathlons. That is another great story. He actually felt so strong about what we had been able to do for him that he shot a TV commercial for us, and I'm going to actually play it for you right now so you can get it in his own words what was able to be done.
That program isn't a diet, it's not personal training, it's basically a lifestyle course. It teaches you how to change the bad habits that cause you to be overweight in the first place, and instill with new, better habits. They teach you how to exercise right, they teach you how to eat right. You could go on a diet or work your butt off in the gym and you'll lose some weight, but ultimately if you don't change any of the habits, you're going to gain the weight right back. I've lost 60 pounds, I've lowered my blood pressure, I've lowered my cholesterol. The TriforLife program has not only given me a new body, it's given me a new life.
Could you do this yourself? Well, you probably could. It is definitely possible. But on the other hand, let's look at the statistics for long-term success in this kind of a program. Well, the AMA states that you've got a 2% chance if you don't have professional help of actually making it long-term. 2%. Those aren't the odds that I like. To make this happen, you've got to know the how and the why. And who's going to show you this? The gym rat? I don't think so. All your friends that have gained and lost over how many years? So how do you beat the odds to get long-term results? Well, you've got to have a professional that has actually done this with a number of people, and hopefully it's going to be a physician. The problem is most physicians don't want to spend the time. And what it's going to take, it's a very time-consuming operation. It's education. You got to know what to do. You got to be supported while you're changing your habits, and you've got to be accountable. First, accountable to the doctor, and then accountable to yourself. That's called lifestyle management therapy. And it's really called TriforLife. What TriforLife is a comprehensive system of education, support, and accountability. And there's also two meanings to that try. Try, you'll notice there's a biker, swimmer, and a runner there. It's based somewhat on triathlon, but you know what? I honestly believe that everybody needs to try for their own life. Try for Life is lifestyle management therapy. But what really is lifestyle management therapy? Well, let me first tell you what it's not. It's not a diet. It's not a pill. It's not a potion. And it's definitely not a fad. And it's not a surgery. It is a personalized therapy program. Call it rehab if you like. That's going to change the way you think about your health and your weight, and you will achieve long term results. There's no question about it. Let me tell you a little story about one of our other patients right now. This is Michelle. She came from the old way of thinking. Well, first of all, she struggled with food her whole life, struggled with weight. And once we got her under control, this is where she turned into. And, she said to us, am I going to have to keep doing this the rest of my life? And all of a sudden, the light bulb went on. She knew that just like brushing your teeth every day, you have to learn to take care of yourself. Well, since 2001, we've helped over 2,000 people achieve long-term success. Well, that sounds great, but out of that, it's a 99% plus long-term success rate. Not 2,000 out of 20,000. It's a 99% long-term success rate. How do we do it? Well, if I decide to take you on as a patient, I make sure that you're successful. You are part of my extended family. And how many doctors do that? There is no greater job satisfaction for me than restoring somebody's health and then knowing that they actually got it and can do it on their own. So what would it be worth to be really successful? Get your health back, lose the weight, and never look back. Well, let me tell you what health insurance is cover for me. Health insurance pays us between $10,000 and $20,000 a year for these kind of results. You're thinking, why, when you can't even get them to pay for a doctor visit? Well, healthy people actually cost less. If you've got, if you're on blood pressure and cholesterol meds, and you've got a $10 or $20 copay, well, that's great, but the insurance company is probably picking up somewhere between $400 to $800 a month for your medications. And what if you have a triple bypass surgery down the road? Well, if I can get you healthy and get you off of those meds, that's an immediate savings. But then if we avoid a triple bypass, they just save themselves $100,000. So what would it be worth? What if we could lower your blood pressure, get off all the weight, lower your cholesterol? How about lower your blood sugar? Really lead a healthy life, positively influence your family, improve your self-esteem, but more importantly, I'm talking about adding 30 good years to the end of your life. I hope you understand where I'm coming from now. I'm talking about real, honest-to-goodness health, not just losing weight. It really kind of looks good when you get out of the shower and you can buy good clothes, but I'm talking about really good health. Can you put a price on it? I think it's priceless, but I can put a price on it. I have to. A regular cash price for a 6-month program is $6,000. If you schedule today, $3,500 for an on-site program and $2,500 web-based, and I will guarantee my results. What if you have health insurance? Well, what we'll do is we'll sit down when we do the consult and we'll talk about that. But remember, I don't take everybody. So part of that consultation is to see if I can really help you. And if I can help you, I'll tell you. And I'll also tell you if I can't. Because not only is your health on the line, but so is my reputation. Remember, I guaranteed your results. Here's what's included: the Polar downloadable heart rate monitor, all my Try4Life textbooks and journal, but more importantly, you get 2 to 4 visits per week with us throughout the duration of your program. We can do payment plans. We have financing available as well. So what's your excuse now? You've got a program that's got a real close to 100% success rate. It's doctor designed and supervised. You'll actually have a partner for your health. We have flexible payment plans, and I guarantee our results. I don't want to hear, I don't have time. You know what? You do have time. You are wasting somewhere along the lines of 4 to 6 hours a week every week. I'm asking you to invest that in your own health. Think about this. If you wear this body out, where are you going to live? If you've got questions, call us at 1-800-801-8769 or locally at 602-358-8883 in Arizona. Thank you for coming and participating in Try for Life, the real lifestyle answer, and it would be an honor and a privilege to get you back on track and get your health where it needs to be. Don't forget our numbers, 1-800-801-8769 and locally 602-358-8883, and on the web, www.triforlife.net. I hope to see you soon.